Here we go, everybody. Hello, it's OddCast number 10.
Podcast number 10, and the super or ex-super is back from Tuscany. How are you, Colin?
I am fantastic. Had a great time. Thank you very much. Nice food, nice people, a lovely break.
Right, enough of that. What do you want to talk about?
I'm going to talk about PEPs today, politically exposed persons, and my reading of a case, and we'll put it in the link, as we always do. Not so much to talk about the judgment as such, but more about the process for searching for PEPs. Now, I always say on the courses that I run around due diligence that there is no one database that's going to tell you whether somebody is a politically exposed person. Now, in this particular case, somebody has run a check where the person wasn't flagged by a system. And it doesn't matter what the system is. I'm not even going to go there. You'll have to read about that because I'm not calling out a system. What I am saying is your checks of PEPs need to be much more than a system check, because there's other issues going on that might cause that person to be politically exposed. And I could give many examples. But let's say if somebody searches for me, my name is fairly uncommon. But even my wife got my name wrong the other day, believe it or not. So she spelt it Tansely for some reason. So when you're searching for people and using systems, you might have to play around with a name. You might have to. I have an example I use on a course where I've got a guy that I search for that had 6 different names. Part of that was because they're in another language. So you have to be very broad when you're looking for people to see if they are politically exposed, but also it's looking into the circumstances as well of their network. So this is quite an interesting one, and I'm not going to get into the judgment and the appeal and everything like that. People can read that and form their own opinion. But I suppose my advice, if you are looking to search for PEPs and make that judgment, a yes and a no on a form is not good enough. A simple system check is not good enough. But you have to combine the system check with some other open source searches, I would suggest. And if not sure, reach out to people like me and let's do it for you. Because this
can I jump in? You commented earlier, and I made a mental note and indeed a written note, which is a system check on its own is not enough. You then need to do a logic check, and then you need to apply some intellect or some intelligence. Yeah. And at that point, and only at that point, are you really likely to be able to turn around and justify, well, we did everything we could, notwithstanding that it still went wrong? Because I think if I'm going to be controversial, I think this judgment actually was quite generous to the person who failed to recognise a PEP who they've known for 20 years.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, over to you, my friend.
Well, there's a lonely street in Singapore. I've not been there. I've been to Raffles Hotels and a Raffles Hotel, and I've drank the Singapore sling, but that's not relevant either. What is relevant is that there's a topic happening in Monaco at the moment, at the FATF plenary. And that topic is, will Monaco continue to be considered the same risk as it is at the moment at the end of this plenary? And I know this is a topic of conversation in Monaco because I know people in Monaco. I know this is a topic in Singapore at the moment because I know people in Singapore. Interestingly, the feedback I just received from Singapore is that the FATF plenary is considering Monaco, and the outcome has been decided and it's going to be released. Singapore is worrying about is its own multi-billion US dollar money laundering scandal, and Singapore is worried about Singapore's own reputation.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we all have to do a spot of navel gazing and say, well, how am I being perceived? I like to think I'm credible. Colin, I think you're credible. Colin, are you credible?
I believe so, and I also think you're very credible.
Right, well, we better get a room then, hadn't we, as if we're going to be that nice to each other.
Yeah. Maybe not this weekend. I'm busy.
No, not this weekend. Can I start to test the joke due diligence rules?
Yes, please go ahead. We're ready for it.
I'm going to go early. A duck walks into a cafe. It asks the waitress for a ham and cheese sandwich. The waitress says, "You can speak." The duck says, "Yeah, you can hear." The waitress serves the duck, ham and cheese sandwich. I'm a vegetarian duck. Now, and later the duck leaves the cafe, comes back on another occasion, and the waitress captures the duck in a net and goes to the circus with the duck and says to the circus master, "I've got a talking duck here. It's going to be a great act for the circus." And this voice pipes up from the net. Why would the circus need a compliance officer?
Is that it? Really? I don't, honestly, I'm going to leave it to the audience. I really am. I don't think it requires any further comment from me.
We know we have some testers and some judges on the jokes. Let's call them Mike, Kelly, and Steve.
Yeah.
I'm quite prepared to be removed from all future joke contributions based on that.
I think there's a very
And
good
remember,
shot.
that light coming towards you that you see at the end of the tunnel, it's probably a train. Colin, I read something the other day that we should close all training with a 5-word message that sums it up. So for me, with regard to your story, I would say, don't rely on systems alone.
Yeah, bang on.
Okay, now you've got 18 seconds. What do you want to say?
Well, methodology would what I'd say to that, not just systems.
Oh, I like that.
And we're now at, 7 seconds. So it's been a pleasure as always, and we'll see you all soon.